Hello everyone, welcome back to the return of Space Alert. I think I haven't done a Space Alert video in years, like a small number of years. And I haven't even done any like game videos besides my daily crosswords for like a month or something when I was doing I did a handful of Star Vaders videos. And I'm just like itching to play a real game and record it. So, Space Alert. As I said, I haven't done this for a while, so I'll do a brief crash course here. This is one of my favorite board games of all time. Came out in 2012, I think? Might be as late as 2015, but I feel like that was the expansion. By Vlaada Chvátil, published by Czech Games Edition. Don't know if I'm pronouncing Vlada's name right, sorry. But it is one of very few games in the genre that I like to call real-time cooperative crisis management game. Is that right? Real-time cooperative crisis management? Yeah, I think that's fair. Or real-time cooperative crisis simulator, whatever. So it's designed to be played. It plays best with 4 or 5 players. But the rules scale all the way down to 1. You can play solo. I don't very often, but that's what I'm doing today. The idea is you are a group of spaceship crewmates, I guess. I wouldn't call you space explorers exactly. And you're going to be moving the various pieces around this board with 6 spaces on it. There will be alien threats assaulting your ship, and you have to play out action cards with the goal of protecting the ship over the course of the 12 turns of the game. Sort of simple overview that you could describe, a lot of games sort of similar to that. The unique gimmick, if you could call it that this game has, is what I said, it's real time. The idea is there's a time constraint in like how long you have to play out your cards, and you are only getting information about what's happening on the board gradually throughout that time. So you're having to respond quickly to threats, come up with solutions in time before you lose out on the opportunity to play cards to address them. And then once you're done being told about all the threats, done playing all your cards, the time limit is over, then you resolve the board. You resolve the cards much more slowly in a time-controlled manner to see if what the cards you played did what you sort of planned for them to do, what you intended. And especially in multiplayer games, there's the chaos is a big part of the fun. But it's also a really good, tactical puzzle game that solves a lot of the problems that cooperative games often have, like quarterbacking, analysis paralysis, right? The real-time element forces you to play quickly and delegate and trust your teammates and stuff like that, which I really enjoy. So I haven't played this in at least a year. But this, by the way, this is a Space Alert mod on Tabletop Sim. I didn't do any of the art for this, but I did do all of the scripting. I picked up in late 2022. I picked up a mod that had imported all of the art and assets and wrote a serviceable scripting engine. It doesn't do everything, but it's nice enough. It's much nicer than playing it all by hand. Anyway, so I'm going to play a fairly simple game mode. We're not playing with any of the expansion stuff, red actions, double actions, or specializations. White, yellow, and red are difficulty, so you can say if you want a medium difficulty, easiest is, I'll play with just white threats. Medium is I'll shuffle in the whites and the yellows together. All yellows is the hardest game that the base game supported, and then the expansion included reds. But I'll play like this, none of the expansions. And so when I hit setup here, it's randomly drawn me some threat tracks for outside the ship and inside. These are where enemies will be progressing from the outermost part to the innermost part, and they do things when they pass over their letters. I'm not going to go in this little crash course over all the like mechanical details of exactly how you do the stuff I've described, but this is roughly how the game works. The pink player is not playing because we're just playing. I said it plays best with 4 or 5 players, and if you play with 4 or 5 humans, you use either 4 or 5 pawns. If you're playing with fewer than 4, then you use kind of like proxy pieces to fill in the gaps, and there are different ways you are assigned cards depending on how many people are playing. But if you're playing with a single-player game, you just get the whole deck, and that's your hand. One of the challenges of playing with multiple players is you don't always have the right cards, and your teammates might have the right cards, and there's some negotiation about like how to get the right cards played. Single player, it's challenging enough. They say, fine, you can just have the whole deck. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to find the cards you're looking for. But just making 4 plans for all 4 pieces at once is difficult enough that you get all the cards. And then each of the pawns gets their own unique, well, not unique. They are randomly assigned one of these 6 heroic action cards that can be played only by that player. So I'm not allowed to peek, but just for demonstration purposes, this is the card that I've been dealt for red. I can only play this to red's board, whereas all the other cards in this deck I could play to anybody's board. So the way that the not randomness, the real-timeness is set up is the game came with a CD that had a soundtrack of mission... What do you call these? I mean, they're mission soundtracks. I don't know exactly, but they contain things on it that tell you like when you have to do certain things. And the expansion came with more for double actions stuff, which we're not using. And there are apps out there for iPhone and Android that will generate random ones. And I found one for PC that's like okay, but not great, and so I just don't use it. And eventually you start to recognize some of the stuff that's happening on these CD soundtracks, but I don't remember most of them. So we'll just play track number 4, I guess. And is it? Yeah, the sound level's right. Okay, so I'll just draw like a bunch of cards. I haven't even told you what the cards do. This is plenty. So on turn 1, there's a threat on the red zone, which is a marauder. So I mark this with a 1. And now we have to figure out how to deal with the marauder before it gets to us. 7 total health. It'll do bad things to us starting on... Well, not for a while. But it'll get extra shields when our turn 3. So it should be 3, 2, 3, 4. Could we kill it on 3? Do we have what are everybody's heroic actions? Yeah, this marauder on 1 is not very pleasant. Okay, so we do have the teleport to lower red. So we could shoot it on 2 for 6. We're ignoring unconfirmed reports because there's only 4 players. Okay, I think we can handle this. So turn 1, blue is going to teleport to lower red. And let's have red go... Oh, blue's the captain, by the way. You don't need to know what that means. I just should decide it before I should make it clear that that's what I intend. So I don't retroactively make a decision that would be to my benefit. Yeah, we're ignoring that too for solo mode. So if we just shoot it with upper for 3... Oh, actually, we don't even need to do this. Put that back. You could just walk. Red, and then downstairs, please. And we can just play... Where are my A's?
Serious threat. Zone red.
There's one.
Repeat.
Another
Serious
threat on the red zone. This one's serious. Okay, we'd better hurry. Who else has the heroic A? What if I shot it for... Well, we have till turn 4 anyway, I guess. It's fine. Okay, so yellow is going to shoot at it. That's going to use up some energy. And then yellow and blue are both going to shoot at it, using up more energy.
3, 2,
my prediction. So all these moves, you know, all the stuff I'm moving around
First phase ends.
is just for my own tracking and planning purposes. All that really matters is the cards, but you move the stuff on the board around to have a good idea of to be able to predict what the state of the board is going to be. Okay, so that's all fine. I don't know. I guess green should go get battle bots or something. Blue. Here's one. How do I do this? There we go. You're down here. And then move red again. Okay, I think so. I've played all my cards for phase 1, the first 3. You're allowed to play ahead, and I will, but... So I believe I've dealt with this Marauder. I shot it, it took 3, and then it took 4, ignoring shields. So it's taken 7, and we killed it on 3. Yeah, that's fine. So now I have to deal with the Mother Swarm, which should be simple enough. Blue needs to refill energy in the red zone.
Data transfer in 5, 4.
So that yellow has ammo to keep shooting with. He needs to do that, I believe, 3 times to deal with the Mother Swarm. My A's? He needs so many A's in this game.
Serious internal threat. Repeat.
Okay, serious internal threat. Where are those?
Serious internal threat.
Phasing anomaly. Okay, that's in upper white on 5. So red should get up there to help out. He and green can handle it, I think.
Incoming data. Repeat. Incoming data.
Let's make sure we press C on 4 as well. Okay. And then on like 5 and 7 they need to press C, I think. Yeah, if we could get another player that would be nice, but I don't have the time. Okay, so you have 1 shield. Yeah, you've been shot. How do I do this? You've taken 4 damage.
Zone blue. Repeat. Time T+6. Serious threat. Zone blue.
Okay, Juggernaut on 6. I'm still dealing with this Swan, thanks. And I need 1 more A. That should do it. Okay, so that's taken care of. Meanwhile, blue is free. Sadly, he has a teleport to the place he already is. I didn't plan that out very well. Let's move him over to the blue zone.
Communication system down.
To help with the Juggernaut event. I'm not allowed to talk, but this is solo, so it's fine. This is a way to cut off communication multiplayer, kind of a fun little joke. Okay, so we need to press C with both of these players on 5 and 7 to deal with the anomaly. Has it done anything in the meantime? 5, 6... No, nothing that matters. Okay. So that's taken care of.
Incoming data. Repeat. Incoming data.
I guess blue has time to grab the battle bots before he goes. In case that's useful. This guy shows up on 6? God, he's so early. But okay, 6, 7, 8, 9. He first shoots us on 10 for 3. Actually, you know what? Forget those battle bots.
In 20 seconds.
Instead, I'd like to refill the main reactor on the way. Okay, great.
Second phase ends in 5,
yellow,
4,
move,
3,
blue.
1.
Sure.
Second phase has ended. Begin third phase.
All right. Oh, are we done, by the way? We are. This is the last threat we're going to get. This is 7 points worth of threats, so I can just focus on the Juggernaut. which is work. Don't get me wrong.
Data transfer. Repeat.
Yeah.
Data
So I'll
transfer
give
in 5, 4, 3, 2.
yellow the responsibility of
Data transfer
pressing C at the beginning of the phase. 8. So it doesn't start shooting until 10. Oh, jeez. How much? 13.
Communication
So
system
much.
Down.
So if I launched a rocket and used a couple of heroic A's, I could hit for 3, 6,
Communications
11.
restored.
And then 2 more shots would do it. Okay, that sounds good. So let's launch a rocket on 8.
Operation ends in
I'm
1
short
minute.
energy. Okay, let's actually do this. Grab some energy first. Did I move someone over there yet? No. You. Go over there. Shield up on 10, please. Who did I move? Red. It attacks for
Communication system
2.
down.
And then starting on 11. Or on 10, excuse me. We'll shoot it.
Communications restored.
I guess this should go
Operation
here.
ends in 20 seconds.
Can we get anyone else down here in case I'm... Green. Go downstairs. Go blue. And just launch the last couple
Operation
rockets.
ends in 5, 4,
I know I have more cards, but I just don't... Okay.
mission complete. Jumping to
I'm going to declare victory there. Okay. So, obviously you didn't know everything I was thinking. It's just too hectic a game to narrate everything. And also, I didn't even tell you all the rules about what any of the cards even do. I just described to you roughly how things work. My belief is that we're going to be okay based on these cards I played, and this is sort of the mental model I have of what the end state should be, except it sort of fell apart a little bit at the end here. But what actually matters is these cards that I played. So I'm going to press this reset button. That's going to undo all the stuff I moved around, bring us back to the beginning state of the game, and then we will carefully play out our actions in order and see if they do what I hoped they would do. So there's this resolution board over here that reminds you of all the steps you're supposed to take. And you just do them in order. So first, we look around. Are there any new threats on turn 1? Yes. A Marauder appears on turn 1. So we put one of its markers here so that we know where it is, and leave the other one here so we know who is the threat that's at this position on the track. Next, it's time for player actions on turn 1. So if you are playing multiplayer, by the way, you'd be playing these cards face down, so you can't see what your teammates have played. You're welcome to ask them, and they're free to tell you, but that's just another tax on your limited communication bandwidth. Whereas having the cards played face up would not tax you in that way. So we resolve each of these actions from left to right, one at a time. Action cards can be played movement side up or action side up, and only the side that's up actually does anything. So this card could be played as a red or as a B, but I played it as a red. So the blue player moves towards the red zone. Next, yellow presses the C button. C does something different in each little section of the ship, depending on where you are. In the upper white, it fiddles with the ship's computer, which you are required to do, well, if you don't do it within the first 2 turns of each of the 3 phases, that's in turn 1 or 2, and turn 4 or 5, and turn 7 or 8, you suffer a heavy penalty. So you would like to do that if you can. We take this cube to mark that indeed I have done this for phase 1. Next, it's yellow's turn. Yellow also moved red. perfectly fine. You can have multiple people in the same place at the same time. They can't use the same elevator at the same time. There's penalties for that. Let's see. And blue moves... Nope, not blue. Green moves blue. That's all the player actions. Now it's time to compute damage. Add up all the damage of any attacks that we made against threats. We didn't attack anything, so it's a very short phase. Or step? I don't even know what you call these. Next up, threats move. So this threat, the Marauder, has speed 3. That's this 3 here. So it moves 1, 2, 3. It didn't cross over any letters, so it doesn't do anything. And that's the only threat, so we're on to new threats for turn 2. But we don't have any new threats until, I believe, 4 when we get this guy. Yeah. So, player actions again. Blue uses the elevator, which takes you down if you're up and up if you're down. Red does the same, but this elevator in the white zone. Yellow presses A, which... The A button is the attack button, generally, in all 6 sectors. The way that you attack differs depending on which... Are they called sectors? I've forgotten. Station? Sector? I think it's a... I don't remember anymore. Anyway, so each sector, I'm going to call them that, although I don't remember what they're actually called, of the ship. I feel like it's red is a sector, white is a sector, and blue is a sector, and there's some other word for upper blue and lower blue, for example, but I don't remember. So when you're in an upper part of the ship, there's these lasers that require energy, that's what these green cubes are, from the corresponding reactor in order to fire. If you don't have any energy in this reactor, firing the weapon will fail to take effect. So we put the cube here to mark that we are firing this, but we don't compute its damage yet. Not until the compute damage phase. This is important so that you can synchronize attacks. Okay, that was yellow's action. Green presses C, which when you're in one of the sectors with these battle bots, means you collect the battle bots from that sector and they follow you for the rest of the mission. This would have been helpful if there had been any internal invaders, intruders they're called, I should say, that we would need to do battle with, but it turns out there were no such threats, and so we never ended up needing these battle bots, but always be prepared. That's all the player actions. Compute damage. This time there is some. This laser is targeting the nearest enemy on the red zone. Zone! That's what these are called. This is the red zone. This is probably the sector called Upper Red, or maybe the station called Upper Red. I think it's a sector, though. So we add up all the damage sources being dealt to this threat. Currently it's just this laser, so it's taking 4. It has 1 shield, so its damage is reduced by 1, but it takes 3 damage, marked with these red cubes. And this energy is spent, so we'll just throw it away. You could delete it, but just as long as it's off the board, you won't get confused. It has not suffered enough damage to be defeated, so it sticks around. Threats and rockets move. The only threat is still this Marauder. It moves still 3. 1, 2, 3. And it's crossed its X, which means it performs action X. All external threats, for example, the Marauder, have +1 shield point until Marauder is defeated. Nope, wrong button. Let's try this. This? Okay, I just forgot what buttons do what. So this Marauder has 2 shield now instead of 1. And if any other threats turn up, the Marauder will be making them stronger. Did we get the computer? Yes, we did. There's a gray cube right here, so no penalties. New threats on 3. Still nothing, I think. The Mother Swarm is on 4. This is 6. This is 5. Yep, nothing on 3. Player actions on 3. Blue presses A. The lower blue and lower red also have lasers. They're weaker. They only do 2 damage, but they don't cost any energy. So pressing A here fires the little laser. This is using the laser battery. I guess, is this a depiction of a battery? It probably is. Red presses B. This is the button for manipulating energy cubes in general. It does different things depending on what sector you're in, but generally it works with energy. In lower white, this is the source of all energy on the ship. You burn one of the 3 fuel capsules and refill the white reactor to its maximum, which, as it says here, is 5. So we have 5 energy here to be taken as needed. Turns out I probably could have gotten away with not doing this, but you never, I didn't know what to do. I had spare time. I went and got the reactor. A good instinct to have. Next up is yellow, who presses A again, firing once more. We're now out of energy in the red zone. And green moves back to upper white. The plan was have him get the computer, and indeed that is what ended up happening. Compute damage. This time we're shooting for 2 plus 4, a total of 6 damage, against which shields only apply once. So their damage is reduced by 2 to 4. It takes 4 more damage. And it has taken a total of 7 damage, and therefore is destroyed. Defeated? I don't remember. So we take this card off the board and put it next to the captain as a reminder, a trophy of sorts that we have defeated it. It matters where you put it because it's possible to not destroy a threat, but if it gets to its Z action, it does something pretty bad. Sometimes lethal, but not always lethal. So you can survive a threat without defeating it, and so that's why we give it to the captain if you defeat it, and we give it the communications officer if you survived it. But in this case, we defeated it, and so its effect that would have given extra shields to other threats does not apply because it's gone now. Anyway, that's still the only threat. So threats move. There are none. New threats on 4. Sadly, not long of a break. We have a Mother Swarm. So this one has only 1 shield. It has the same stats. Okay, we should talk about serious versus normal threats, I guess. Threats with an X in the top left are normal threats. And threats with 3 exclamation points are serious threats. They are generally more dangerous. About twice as dangerous, the game designers estimated, because over the course of a mission at these settings, you will have to deal with a total number of 7 points worth of threats. And a normal threat is 1 point, and a serious threat is 2 points. So that's about how much harder they are. So it has the same stats, 6-1, as the Marauder we just fought. But it's still more difficult to defeat because it can't be targeted by rockets, which doesn't matter. We didn't target the Marauder with rockets either, but sometimes it matters. If a rocket would be useful, being unable to use them is unpleasant. More importantly, it can't take more than 2 damage per turn after shield. So even if I shot it for 15 in 1 turn, which I think is impossible, we could only hit it for a total of 2 damage. How much damage could you do, just out of curiosity, to 1 threat? If we used heroic A's on both lasers, that would be 6 plus 2 is 8. You could add a heroic pulse cannon, I guess. For 2 more would be 10. And the heroic BattleBot action while in the interceptors would be 4 more is 14. I think that's the most you could do to a threat without using a rocket is 14. At least use with no expansions. Maybe there's something in the expansions that would do it, although I don't think so. With a rocket, you could do more. But anyway, I just made up the number 15. It's not relevant here. You can't do 15, but if you could, it would still be impossible against this threat. Okay, so that's the Mother Swarm. Did I already... I haven't taken away the energy cubes for the last attack. That's what's wrong. Alright, so player actions 4. Blue presses B. So when you're in lower white, B just refills the reactor by spending a fuel capsule. You can't create any energy anywhere else on the ship. You can only move it. And so in one of these side reactors, pressing B draws as much energy as possible from the central reactor to the reactor you're in. So, for example, a principle of this game is that you're never allowed to make decisions during the resolution round. Everything is locked in when you played the cards. And so if, for some reason, I only wanted to move 2 energy, that would be illegal. I have to move all 3. If there were only space for 2, because 1 were already here, then I would only move 2. But in this case, I wanted all 3, so it was very lovely. Red goes back upstairs. He's sensing there might be something wrong with the computer in a second, so he's coming up to deal with it. Yellow presses A, 3rd time in a row, and there was no energy at the end of last turn, but there is some now, because blue went before him in turn order. That's why captaincy matters. The captain goes first. You know, any player can be captain, but if you're playing solo, it's just convenient to have the leftmost player be captain. So he presses A, and green presses C, getting the computer. So that we won't suffer. Oh, I just noticed the only thing he ever did was press C. How nice. Where am I? What happened? Yes, I have done all the player actions. Let's compute damage. The only weapons we fired were on the red zone. This Mother Swarm would take 3 damage for -1, but it can only take 2 per turn. That's all the damage. Threats move. Mother Swarm moves just 2. 2 is kind of the normal pace for a threat. 3 is fast, 1 is slow, 2 is normal. There's even faster stuff, but it's pretty rare. That's all the threats moved. So new threats on 5. This is the one internal threat that we had in the mission. There are 2 kinds of internal threats. Intruders, which we talked about. You have to punch them with your battle robots here. And this is not intruder, it's a malfunction. The ship has broken. This phasing anomaly, oops, this stays here. This goes here. The C system in upper white has been compromised. There's a phasing anomaly. And so malfunctions are repaired by using the button indicated here. So it's C to attack or repair this malfunction. This malfunction has shields and 2 health. So it needs 2 players pressing C to do even 1 damage to it. 3 players all at once would defeat it. I didn't have 3 players to spare. Although maybe I could have if I'd been really clever. I don't think so. So I just had 2 players press C on it twice. It's phasing, which is a thing that was introduced in the expansion, I think. So red threats, the expansion added red threats as a group, but it also added a number of new white and yellow threats with new mechanics. And so phasing, well, I guess we'll get to it when we get to it. Okay, so that's our new threat. Player actions on 5. Blue moves blue. Red, we're on turn 5. Red presses C. He is attempting to fix the anomaly. You could, normally I would just, remember this, but for the sake of this kind of slower, explainy video, we'll put out a black cube to mark that for this turn, this guy's damage has been, his shield has been bypassed. For external threats, you don't really have to do that because all the damage happens at once during the compute damage phase. For internal threats, it happens staggered as players press the buttons, so it's nice to have a little marker in case you could possibly forget. Yellow presses A again. He's still in upper red, so there goes that. And, oh, this should not have gone to your board. It should have gone here. Green also presses C, and because the phasing anomaly's shields have been bypassed by red, 1 damage is dealt to the phasing anomaly. And its shields will be back for next turn. That's all the player actions. Let's compute damage. Once again, the Mother Swarm is being shot for 4. Its shields reduce the damage by 3, but it can only take 2 damage per turn. and that's all the damage. Threats move. So this is the first time we've had 2 threats on the board. They move in ascending order. So the oldest threats, the threats who've been here the longest, move first. So Mother Swarm has 2 speed, moves 1, 2, and it lands on or crosses an X, so it performs its X action, which is to attack 1. The first time a threat has attacked us. It deals damage to the sector that it's, or the zone that it's in front of, that its track is on. But we have shields. This shield has a capacity of 2, but only starts out charged for 1. A shield prevents a damage. This is quite nice because damaging the ship would be a way to die. That's the main way to die, although not the only way. And you don't just lose HP on the ship. Let's suppose that this had actually struck us. We would draw a damage tile from the 6 available at random and place it on the board, kind of covering up what's normally there. So now our elevator is broken. The grav lift, I think it's called, which would mean it's slower to move up and down. And so this is one thing that you can't predict during the planning phase when you're playing out cards. If you are going to take any damage, you can't know what damage tile will be drawn during the resolution round. And that may affect how well the actions you're planning work. And so you need to, if you expect to take damage, first of all, obviously try not to. But if your plans involve taking damage, you need to try to take out insurance against oh, well, this attack would probably kill this guy, but maybe the laser's damaged. Let's try to get a little extra damage just in case. Stuff like that. However, in this case, we had a shield, so we deflected the damage it tried to do to us. The next threat now moves. This is the phasing anomaly. It moves 3. And here's where phasing comes in. Every other turn, it disappears. So it moves 1, 2, 3, and then off the board into nothingness. And it passed over a C, so it performs its X action, which is to disrupt the white zone optics. I guess let's do that. No, I always forget which button is which. I'm the one who assigned these buttons, but it was a long time ago. There we go. So the white zone's laser is fricked up. And you can't hit anything with it unless someone is looking out the window to confirm that you're aiming in the right place. That won't come up because we're not using the white zone laser, but soon it'll start messing up other lasers if we don't deal with it, which we are going to deal with it, so it'll be okay. Anyway, that's all the threats moved. Did we get the computer? Yes. New threats on 6. Our last threat of the mission, the Juggernaut. A slow but very powerful threat. Tons of shield, tons of health, does a bunch of damage. And it is sort of a rocket magnet of sorts. We'll see how it goes. I've cleaned up all the damage, or the energy, right? Yeah, alright. Player actions 6. Blue presses B, refilling the main reactor in anticipation that we might need more. Turns out we didn't. And it would have been better if he just hurried up a little bit. Red does nothing. They're waiting for the phasing anomaly to phase back in. Yellow presses A for the 5th time in a row, using up the last of the energy in the red reactor. Green is also waiting for the phasing anomaly to phase back in. Damage. For the 3rd time in a row, we shot the Mother Swarm for 4, reduced to 3, reduced to 2, but that's enough to defeat it. It's at 6 out of 6 damage, so the captain gets it as a trophy. This thing took out one of our shields and kept multiple players occupied for at least a little while, but we got there. That's all the damage, but I should clean this up. Threats move. This is now the lowest numbered threat, so it phases in and then moves 1, 2, 3. Doesn't do anything. And and the Juggernaut moves a measly little 1. Threats on 7. There are no threats remaining. Actions on 7. Blue moves blue again, getting over there to deal with the Juggernaut. Red presses C, working on the phasing anomaly. Yellow moves blue, heading to the white zone. And green presses C as well, doing a second point of damage to the phasing anomaly, defeating it. Great. The white zone optics are no longer disrupted, right? That's how that works. Until my function is repaired. Yep. Okay, but it's repaired now. That's all the player actions. Damage. We did not shoot at anything. Threats move. Juggernaut moves 1. Closing in. Threats on 8. There are none. Actions 8. Blue presses B, topping up the energy here. Even if it is just 1, it's better than nothing. Red moves blue. Yellow presses C, getting the computer. And at this point, it would be better if I had played more actions for people, but I was running out of mental bandwidth and time, so I sort of stopped. Blue goes... Sorry, not blue. Green goes downstairs. Damage. We still have not shot at the Juggernaut. Threats move. We're taking our time. Juggernaut closes in. Actions on 9. 9 is this one, right? Yeah. Blue presses C, and in lower blue is the rocket bay. So what that does is it takes one of our 3 rockets, if we have one, and shoots it off into space. It won't hit anything this turn, but next turn, it'll connect with the closest threat. Assuming there is a targetable threat within distance 2 on any of the 3 tracks, the rocket will target them for 3 damage. Juggernaut has special rules text about rockets, saying that they can target it even at range 3, and they ignore other threats to target the Juggernaut. But every time it gets hit by a rocket, it permanently gets a shield. So you get 3 damage on the turn you fire it, but then after that, you lose some efficiency. I think I worked out a plan to kill it, but we'll see. Anyway, that's blue. He fired a rocket. Red presses B. This is the first time we've seen a B in an upper section. That takes energy from the corresponding reactor and puts it into the shields. Because I just couldn't kill it before it could shoot at us, and I wanted the shield up so I wouldn't have to worry about what got broken. Yellow has gone to sleep for the rest of the mission. We'll just say he's working very hard on the computer. And green has moved blue to start helping out. Damage. None yet. Threats and rockets move. So the rocket is now in position to attack next turn. The Juggernaut moves 1, crossing its X. It gets +2 speed, so it's gone from being slow to being fast. And it attacks for 2, but we have 2 shields, so all is well for now. Did I get the computer? You bet I did, but I put it over here, which is the right thing to do during planning phase. During the resolution round, you should really put it over here. Player actions on 10. Blue presses A using his heroic action. So each player gets 1 heroic action, which is to do something, but like do it better than usual. So for A buttons, it just means shoot, but like if you do shoot, it does 1 extra damage. Oh my god, I played this upside down. So let's talk about tripping. I'm gonna allow myself to weasel out of this one because most of my trips come from tabletop sim and not actually playing cards wrong, but I meant to play the card like this, right? But I actually played it like this as a move. And I don't know. I mean, like, you can decide whatever level of fairness you think is fair for your own games. I would sometimes allow myself to trip here. So the mechanic that the game has is like, if you play something the opposite of the way you meant to play it, you're allowed to turn it over, but you trip, meaning like your next action is delayed, like this. But I think most of the time when it happens to be on tabletop sim, it doesn't feel very good or fun. And so I just... Because what usually ends up happening to me is this. I take this card, right? And this is... no, I must have actually gotten... Well, Yeah, I actually must have gotten this one wrong. Because... Well, I think I'm just noticing something for the first time. Huh. I guess I did this on purpose, but I had forgotten. So each of these cards has like a... Getting into like a technical details now. In terms of Space Alert, the cardboard game, these two faces of the card are indistinguishable. You can call whichever card you want. Well, they're clearly distinguishable. One's a move and one's an action. You can call either one the top, right? Is this the top or is this the top? Sort of unclear. They're equally dominant. But in Tabletop Sim, one of them is distinguished as the actual top. And you can tell because when you move a card into a hand zone, it reorients to be top side up, which is, I guess... Yeah, for all of them, you can see the action side being up is top. And that's exactly the opposite of what I like. Because the arrows kind of point the wrong way. So, like, really, if I'd remembered, I would have like started the game by doing this. So that the arrows would point the right way. But I don't really think about what way the arrows are pointing. I just think about the color. Anyway, but on these cards, it's especially important. Because, like... If you looked at a card like this, you might be tricked into thinking it was a teleport to upper blue, not lower blue, right? So I like them to be facing this way. So I actually deal them out to players in this way. But if they ever go into a hand zone, they flip. And so it's possible, I mean, you could watch the footage. It's possible that what happened is I wanted to play an A, a heroic A, and I, like, you know, I don't know. I think I just forgot to flip it because I was in so much chaos at the end. So you know what? We'll give me a trip, and maybe I'll die. I'll play fair, and maybe I won't die. So we'll say that Red played his A the incorrect way and is therefore tripping, but he still gets to take the action. It's just his next action will be affected, which is often worse because of synchronization issues. But it might actually turn out better, question mark? Anyway, so that's Red played his heroic A, but he tripped. And so he'll be shooting on turn 12 instead of 11. Oh, no. No, I don't think it's good for me. It's bad. But it might be okay. It should be okay. Other actions on turn 10. Yellow is still working with the computer. Oh, yeah, it's terrible. And green is launching another rocket. Now we compute damage. So, what's everything targeting? The rocket is targeting the only external threat. This laser is targeting the Juggernaut. This laser is targeting the Juggernaut. So we have 3 plus 5 is 8. Plus 3 is 11 damage. It has 3 shields. So, how do I do this? Oh, we have too many of those. Yeah, so these count for 5. I mean, you can have them count for whatever you want, but 5 is like the normal, natural choice, right? So we shot it for 11. It has 3 shields. It takes 8. There you go. So it's not dead yet, but it's looking in bad shape. However, it was struck by a rocket, so it gets an extra shield. Let's clean up all these damage cubes. And the rocket. Threats and rockets move. This now has 3 speed, so it moves 1, 2, 3. And I already moved the rocket. Actions on 11. Blue presses A again. Red is tripping. Yellow is napping. Green is launching the last rocket. Damage. There's a rocket. There's a battery-powered laser. They're both targeting the Juggernaut for 3 plus 2 damage is 5. It has 4 shields, so it takes only 1 more damage, which means it's not quite dead. It's taken 9, sadly. And is not defeated, therefore. And gets yet another shield. Then, threats move. So it has 3 speed still, and moves 1, 2, 3. Gets 2 more speed, and attacks for 3. We're out of shields here, so we suffer 1, 2, 3 random bits of damage. The blue laser, or the side laser has been damaged. It only attacks for 1 now. The reactor's damaged. It only has 2 capacity instead of 3. And the main laser's damaged. Wow, that took away the most damage possible. Okay, good on you. But we're still alive for now. And of course rockets move. Actions 12, the final player turn of the game. Blue presses A. Red finally presses A like he meant to last turn. Yellow's working on the computer still, and green has run out of rockets. If he had pressed A as well, it would have no effect. You can only fire each weapon once per turn. Damage. I think this is enough. We have 3, 4, 7 damage targeting this threat with 5 shields. And therefore it takes 2 more damage, bringing it to a total of 11. And it is, at long last, defeated. At some cost to the ship, right? We took some damage and used up all of our rockets. But of course, since it was the last threat, the rocket count doesn't really matter. Now, threats and rockets move. If we hadn't defeated the Juggernaut, it would be killing us right now. And there's now one last turn where the players don't get to do anything, but any rockets fired on turn 12 hit, and then the enemies get one more action. And then the game is over. The ship jumps to hyperspace, and you escape. So, a little bit of a trip there. It got a bit hectic in the end. I'm glad I put together a good plan, even if I did mess up a little bit by playing this card upside down. And I played enough insurance actions at the end to compensate for the error. Right, without Blue's last... Well, this emergency rocket was kind of neutral. It was value neutral, I guess. It dealt 1 damage effectively, but... Or 2? 1. It dealt 1 damage, but added a shield for the next attack, which was the one that really mattered. Oh well. But the rocket that happened to line up with when Red was shooting was necessary to defeat the Juggernaut. Another approach you could take would be to start launching rockets later after you've done some of your shooting. I didn't have enough people in lower blue to do that. I mean, it turns out maybe I could have, but I don't know. I found a plan that seemed like it would work, and I did it, and it did work, so congratulations. And then if you want to, you can score it up. Each threat has a point number in the bottom right, 2 of them actually. The lower one if you survive, the higher one if you defeat it. They're not interesting numbers, they're just like, you know, every yellow threat that's a normal will be 3-6. Every white threat that's normal is 2-4. Every red threat is 4-8. And then if they're serious, they're doubled. So if you defeat all the threats in an all yellows mission, then you can be guaranteed that you'll have 6 times 7 is 42 points worth of threats. You do need to subtract points for damage. I mean, I don't care that much about score. I'm just about living through the mission. But you know, it's fun to score it up sometimes. So each point of damage that the ship has suffered costs you 1 point. Also, knocked out, damaged battle bots cost a point. Knocked out players cost 2 points, I think. And also, the zone with the most damage in it is counted twice. So this 3 damage on the blue zone is costing us 6 points for a net score of 36. There are extra points available if you have some spare time. You can press C in lower white to grab a couple points. If we'd had more time, that would be a perfectly fine thing for yellow to do, because he didn't really have much else to do. There you go. So, it's been ages since I played. All yellow threats was a good level of challenge for me, I felt, playing solo. I would not have survived a red-yellow mix, I suspect. It's just a fun, chaotic game. I love it. I've played many, many, many games of Space Alert over my lifetime. It's got to be at least 100, right? I think so, counting the online ones I played with Zephind and the in-person ones I played in Cardboard way back in the day. Anyway, so that was some Space Alert. There may or may not be more Space Alert coming. We'll see. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.